Hey everybody, this is Jeff from the Great Heights and Barely Controlled Chaos, and this is our homestead. I'm sitting out here by the barn. This is the lower goat barn, and I want to talk about chores today. Chores versus projects. You've seen recently that I've done quite a few projects, and those always pop up, but there's always chores to be done around the homestead, around the farm, whatever you want to call this, and those chores constitute the majority of the work that you're going to be doing if you have a homestead or if you have a farm or if you have animals in general. Most of them don't take that long. And so I'm going to walk you through what we do on a normal basis, and just kind of give you an idea what we're doing, or what has to be done. I'm going to start with the biggest and probably most labor-intensive one, the one that nobody likes doing. It's mucking the stalls out. Now I have 4 places that I actually have to clean. Hey you, how you doing? 4 places that I actually have to clean. The goat barn, the goat pen here. Right now I also have to clean the pig pen. This is just, again, this is one of our goat birthing stalls that I'm standing here. And usually what I'm gonna do is, while they're in here, while they're babies like this and they're in here, I'm gonna move them from one to the other. We have 2 goat birthing stalls. I'll just keep moving them back and forth until they're done. But what I do is I put some clean bedding down in there. The goats are different, but with the pigs, I put some clean bedding down in there and then just kind of run them over from one to the other and then clean up their other stall, and then they come back to that one the next week. Hey, dude. Yeah, you're being friendly today, huh? All 3 of you. Anyway, so that's what we do with that. I know with time lapse it's hard to gauge. That really only took me like 5 to 10 minutes to get that done. So really, while it's a smelly chore, it's really not that bad. Should have worn gloves though. Now the goats are slightly different, only because their area is a lot bigger, and and this is their permanent barn. As I said before, the pigs, this is just a temporary setup so that they can have a place to hang out while we, excuse me, so they can have a place to hang out while we get a permanent place outside set up for them. This is the goats' permanent area. And you can see this is about a week and a half worth of, they need this cleaned up. So this will take a little bit longer, but really not that much longer. And because it's mostly small stuff, I'll actually go get a broom real quick and sweep most of it. So this is going to take me 15 minutes or so, but this is far better than what we had to do in New York. Part of the reason that this is better is because it's just a bunch of poop laying on the floor. It can all be swept up. When we were in New York, it was colder there, and so we were very hay intensive, quite a bit of hay actually, and unfortunately it would get bound up on the floor of the barn, and it would take us forever. We used pickaxes and everything to get all the hay out, especially after the winter. During the winter, we left it in there because it was good bedding for them to sleep in to stay warm. Anything that they threw on the floor, we just left. And then in the spring, we had to clean that all up, which made a huge, that was a giant chore. It took us hours and hours to do. So this is much easier, and I can deal with this. All right, so ideally, weekly or bi-weekly, I come out here and I sweep this stuff out and clean it up so there's a lot less on the floor. And then once a month or so, I come out here with a hose and actually wipe it down, or not wipe it down, spray it all down, and then brush the water out into the thing. I have to thank the previous owners of this house because they put up these beautiful barns for us. The only thing I have a problem with, the only issue, and it's a little tiny thing, is that they didn't slope the floors so that they run out the door out there. They kind of puddle in the middle. So I do need to. That's something I have to work on eventually, but it's nothing to. You can, with a broom, you can sweep it all out. So anyway, that's really the mucking of this barn. All right, so you've seen us clean the chicken barn before, but I'll go ahead and put it on time lapse. All we're going to be doing in here is just getting all the old bedding out, and then we're going to put new bedding in here, or newish bedding in here. Actually, it's the stuff that was in the chicken or in the rabbit area that they didn't use. So. All right, so those are the dirty chores. We only do those once a week or once every other week. So that's not something that we have to do every day. So I want to talk about the ones we have to do every day now. We're going to start doing that. This is last thing here. Seamus is doing the duck area. We had the ducks inside where they were ducklings, and we've now moved them outside.
To a little ducky pen.
To a little ducky pen out here. Oop, there we go. So I'm going to work on getting them a pond or something to swim in, but that's where they are for now. They seem to be happy out here. So all right, so we'll start up here in the pig barn. I like the idea of gravity. Gravity doesn't actually work this way, but I start that way. I start at the top of the hill and I work down as I'm feeding. So the pigs, their feeder is right there. This is that thing that we built, the feeder that we built for them. Their food is in this bucket. We keep their food as much as possible. We keep all the animal food in airtight buckets, or in buckets that vermin can't get into. They're fine. So in here, get off, Charlie. In here we've got this little coffee can. Now I feed them this. One of these, there's only 2 of them, so I feed them one of these twice a day. And you just fill this up and then dump it into their bucket feeder, or into their trough there. Now, when there's excess food, when we have leftovers, there's not a lot of leftovers in our house, but if there's leftovers that are ready to go, I usually put them in here. So scraps, food like that, anything but pork goes in this bucket. And then we bring that out to them every day, every other day, depending on what's going on. I actually started feeding the scraps to the baby pigs, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Kittens, or cats, all the cats in general, their food, again, we keep it in an airtight container, and they just get 1 bowl of food per day. Pigs get fed twice a day, kittens get fed once a day. And then, so, moving on. All right, so down here in the goat barn, pretty simple stuff. The pigs and the goat food and the rabbit food is all stored here. The pigs get swine feed and leftovers. Depending on how much leftovers, you kind of gauge up and down, but I've got these coffee cans in here. The pigs, usually I give them about 3/4 of this every day, twice a day. The goats get about half of one of these about twice a day, morning and evening. Now the goats, I'll show you. I've just got a couple of troughs. I knocked it down again. Of feed, these are just feed troughs. They go on them, mounted here. We just I spread the feed out between the two of them so they don't fight over them. And this is just a supplement. This is not their main feed. Their main feed is the woods. I want them eating out of the woods. This stuff is a treat. It's got some minerals and stuff in it that are good for them, so that's good. Now the goats also get, this is a molasses tub, water, and minerals. Now the minerals, if they need more minerals, we put more minerals in there. But it's free access to it. But again, water and molasses tub and their feed. Those are all supplements to their main feed. All right, so the baby pigs. As I said, any seconds or any leftovers on the will go to the baby pigs at this point. Anything but pork, but they get the leftovers, the scraps. They also get the swine feed, like I said. And then for them, they've got a feed trough down here. This is just an upside down pan. I need to go dump this out, but I just put the grain in there, and they'll eat out of there. They love the leftovers, and so they're a little bit pickier about the grain, but they'll eat it. And then their water trough is back there. Pigs will go from being very healthy to very sick and dead within a day if they don't get water. They get in that, so it gets dirty really fast. I don't worry too much about that. Mostly I worry about just making sure that they've got enough. So fill that pan up once a day. That's what I've been doing, so that's enough for them. All right, so this is the chicken barn, the chicken area. I'm gonna stop here for just a second. These are the ducks. Now the duck food is just inside here. It is the one that's labeled poultry feed. We have been feeding them grower feed, basically, because they are meat birds, so they're attempting to fatten them up and get them ready for Thanksgiving and Christmas. But they get this just standard poultry grower. The other chickens get egg layer, or egg ration. It's got different minerals in it for them, and it's a pelletized thing versus the crumbles, which is what the ducks are getting. Now, I don't have airtight containers for them yet, but I'm working on that. So, through here, the chicken area. Now, the chickens have, I know I've shown this before, but the chickens have a feeder. Basically, it's just you can get something that works just like this at Tractor Supply. It's got some holes down the bottom, and the feed comes out. But I fill this I don't fill it. I put about half of it full every other day or so. Just as they eat it, then I fill it up again. And then I usually put this lid on top just to keep them from pooping in it. Their water, again, this is just a large version of what you can buy at Tractor Supply. Their water is a simple, and they need more water. A simple thing, I've drilled some holes in here, and then we fill this up with water, and then it dribbles down into that pan, and only ever fills the pan. Obviously, they need a little bit of water, so I'll fill it. Now, let's talk about water. So the old owners had this bathtub just sitting out in the pig area, which is over there. And I don't know what it was for. I'm pretty sure they pulled it out of the house, but I don't know why. Anyway, so we've repurposed it as a water for the goats. It's also a good place to store water, so you don't have to drag the hose down here every day. So what I do is I come down here and I fill this once a week or so, and or as much as needed, and then I use it to get water for the chickens. I'll dip out of it, and the dogs and the goats drink out of this water bucket during the day. And actually, the goats will drink right out of the tub too. But I just use the tub to get water versus trying to drag the hose down here every day. You can obviously drag the hose down here. That's up to you. That's kind of, it's just the way that, this is the way that I've been doing it. So I forgot to mention that the ducks get fed twice a day. Pretty much everybody gets fed twice a day, with the exception of the kittens and the chickens. The chickens get fed every other day because, not because we don't feed them every day, it's just that they've got a feeder that's big enough to hold enough and they won't go crazy. The ducks get fed twice a day, the goats get fed twice a day, the pigs get fed twice a day. Now, I did also forget something else. So let's head back up to the goat barn where we're going to talk about something else. All right. Part of the reason I forgot this is because it's new. So if you go in here, just right here is a bag of what's called specialty feed. It is rabbit feed. Come on. Out. Out, out.
Don't lock me in.
The rabbits are right over here in their new rabbit hutch, which I have been talking about building for a while, but now I've finally built. So they're in here. Where are they? Hello, rabbits. Oh, their water is tipped over.
How we feed them?
And you can see they've got a bowl right there. I fill that bowl twice a day, and they're spilling it. I gotta find some way to fix it to the wall. But basically, just fill that bowl twice a day, so you can get to it. And I gotta fix their water because that's falling down. Anyway, the pallet is there to keep those two idiots out because, well, they come in and harass the bunnies. So that's it. All right, so we do those chores twice a day. Once in the morning, once in the evening. Now, there are differences between the evening chores and the morning chores. And the biggest difference is that anything that we opened during the morning, we close. By the time, if you come out in the evening, you know, after dinner, the chickens will have all gone in their coop, so that's not hard to fix. The goats we don't close in because there's not a lot of predators out here to mess with them, and they'll come in on their own. If we start hearing coyotes or something like that, we can start closing them in, but at the moment we don't. We close this door. This is the outer door on the chicken barn. We close that. I usually like to close this half door on the goat barn. It's not necessary, but I like to close it anyway. I make sure that this gate is closed all the time. That one right there, the one that's not closed. I make sure that that gate is closed all the time. That is to keep the goats in and the dogs out and all that good fun stuff. No, dog, don't go in there. Come here. Hey, come here. So as much as possible, I like to keep the big barn door closed. This one, the big sliding barn door. It just keeps, we don't ever have any visitors down here, but we do occasionally have deliveries and stuff like that. It just keeps prying eyes out of our barn. This man door right here, you can leave open, closed. I actually leave it open most of the time because that lets the cats get in and out for a place for shelter. Same thing with this door here. It goes to the pig barn. I come out, shut the lights off in both barns, actually in all four barns. The rabbits, the chickens, the goats, this one, and the main barn. But this door, I close it most of the way and leave just enough gap there for cats to get through. They like to sleep in there, so that works well for us. All right, so that's really all. Our chores are pretty straightforward. Like I said, they're nothing earth-shattering. Everybody has to do most of these things. Mucking the barn, that's, like I said, that's the hardest part, but it's not hard. It's just time-consuming and a little gross. But, you know, if you keep up on those kind of chores, that's not that big of a deal. Like I said, when we lived in New York, the biggest thing was getting that goat barn cleaned out in the beginning of the summer because it was just nasty and it had piled up all winter. And we did that intentionally, but then it made for a really awful cleanup in the spring. But then normally we would try to keep up on it during the summer and the fall so that it didn't get that nasty again. The feeding chores are pretty straightforward. I mean, everybody feeds. It's just a matter of how much they feed and when they feed and things like that. And this is just the way I do it. So yeah, that's it. So if you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. Let us know if you see things that we're doing wrong in the comments. Obviously, airtight containers on all the feed containers would be great. We'll work on that. We're working on that. But yeah, that's where we are with those. But yeah, leave any comments down below. Something that you think we could be doing better. I'd love to get a rainwater collection system for all the watering. That would be awesome. And I am working on it, but it's in the future. Anyway, so leave your comments. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so that you get notified when we get a new video out. And
Click the bell.
we'll talk. Can you say it?
Click the bell.
Click the bell, yeah. Okay, and we'll talk to you next time.